I'm here with Lillian Gonzalez. She's 90 years old. She is a faithful Bible worker and missionary for Jesus. But Lillian, you went through some very, very tough times when you were a young lady. Tell
Yes.
us about Ciudad Monte in Mexico and how God grew the work there while He was growing you.
Well, I had the opportunity to get married to a person Catholic. In those years, in the 40s, the Catholic was very aggressive, and any person that was related with a Catholic, it was how you call it, heresy? It was the enemy of the church. So I had a lot of trouble, tribulations with the family. On the beginning, my marriage came because my father-in-law he didn't like the Catholic Church. That's why my my husband and I we got married because
You
he
gave His
back
blessing to that.
yes for that and he approved everything, contrary to all the rest of the family. But my life began in trying to look for the church. I didn't know what was a church.
So you got married at 18. You moved to Ciudad Monte, where your husband's family was. His father had given a blessing for you to get married, which is very unusual. So here's this man from a Catholic family marrying somebody who wasn't Catholic. You get to Ciudad Monte and you are looking for the Adventist. What did you find?
Somebody told me that there's a group of people, maybe 5 or 6 persons, that was gathered in a small shack next to a building, in the middle of a building and a business of lumber company. So I went and I got there, and it was about 5 or 6 people. It was boards of seats. It was only about four seats. Few people gathering, and to me it was one of the happiest of it because I was hungry about the gathering with the people from church.
So you'd found your Adventist family you'd kind of drifted away from, but you knew you had it in your heart. And there they are with 4 boards for benches on concrete blocks and thatched roof and thatched walls. So it's just a little shack there, but it's one of the happiest days of your life because you found your
Yes.
Adventist family.
That's right.
How did it go with the rest of the family?
Well, uh, next day that I went to church, I was so happy. It was Sunday, so my mother-in-law's sister came to the business, and she looked at me and she told me, "Where were you yesterday?" So I told her I went to church. You call a church that shack that's trash? When we had such a big building in front of the plaza, the big church, a cathedral. I said, I'm not looking for the church, I'm looking for the message.
The message, not the building. So she knew you'd gone there because you found out later she lived right next to that little humble
She saw me
place.
getting in there.
Wow. And she was just laughing and mocking you because of that little shack when there's that fancy cathedral. But you told her it's the message, not the building. So how did it go with the rest of the family from then on?
They, unfortunately, my father-in-law passed away in the next year, so I couldn't continue much with the blessing that I had, but the blessing of the Lord is stronger. So what happened, they brought from Rome one of the sisters of my mother-in-law. She's a nun, so she could come and convince me because I was a curse in the family. So she came and I told her, she said, what are you doing in that church? I said, that's why I'm born in that church, and this I'm gonna stay in this church. This is the truth. No, 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 no. The truth is it's in the Catholic Church. But I was 18, but everybody tell me that I would have my appearance of about 15-year-old girl. So they thought they were gonna handle me anyway. But the Lord was with me. And everything she told me, the Lord gave me the answers back to tell her.
Just like Jesus promised, when you appear before other people, that you will be given what to say.
Yes,
That was
exactly.
happening to this young 18-year-old who looked like a 15-year-old. Praise the Lord.
Yes. So then that seemed they couldn't convince me. So I came to Houston, and my husband stayed alone in Monte. So came the nun again. They called her again from Rome, and she came to talk to him alone. And they told him, it's impossible. You have to get rid of this lady. You can continue with her. You have to look. You don't have a business right now. We're gonna put your good business in the main street. You're gonna have this. You're gonna have. They told him a lot of stuff they was gonna give to him. So he listened to them. When she finished, she said, "You know what? If that's what the Catholic Church teach, to leave your wife and your kids, I don't want to know anything about the Catholic Church." Excuse me. He got out and he stepped out. And the family got so angry. When they got home, they told him, you disrespect our aunt. She's a nun. You have to respect her. And now go home. You maybe begging, but we're not going to give you not even a glass of water.
So they just cut him off from the family.
Yes.
Because he wouldn't get rid of his wife.
But then came the family Ruby that got married to one of the girls married to the pastor, and she told me there was an opening in Montemorelos in the hospital. So that's when we moved from Monte, and they got so angry because we moved. But I'm sorry, the Lord was guiding me to get out of that city. So I went to Montemorelos where I work as a Bible worker. I mean, as a nurse aide. That's another thing. I've been having positions without giving a study, only giving me books to look what you have to do. That's all. Nurse, it's nurse aide because the student had to go to class, and I had to stay with the main nurse attending their patients. So it was a blessing for me. I enjoyed it so much that the head nurse would tell me, "Hey, it's time for you to go." I was so
You love your work so much.
Yes, with the patients. So
Did you ever go back to Ciudad Monte after that?
Yes.
What happened then?
The next generation, they love me. They tell me, "Tia, we're going to have a meal. We want you to pray. We know you don't eat this. We have a special for you, and we want you to pass the blessing." One of my nieces told me, she's a dentist, "Tia, you pray so nice. I want you to write me down what you pray." I said, "I'm sorry, but it's not a rest. What is the prayer and the..."
Yeah, just repeat, memorize prayers,
Yeah.
yes.
I said,
Not
"This is
that.
not this, because you have to open your heart to the Lord and tell him what you feel, what you need, what you want. He's right next to you. He's gonna listen to you." So one of these days that I went to the women's meeting in Mexico, that's one of the last ones that I went. On my way back, I told the rest of the group I'm going to stay in Monterrey with my family, and which is this dentist. And she told me, she went to pick me up at the bus station. She said, and we got home. She said, "Tomorrow is Sabbath. I know you got to go to the church. I already investigate what your church where you go. I'll take you and I'll pick you up when I come back from my office." And then she asked me a lot of questions. They're very Catholic because they have the Pope and saints and all over the place. And so she told me, "Hey, I would like for you to pray with my daddy." And then I went in the room and I asked him, I said, "Rodrigo, would you like for me to pray for you?" "Claro que sí, Lillian, of course." So I had a prayer with him. And so after that was about in the middle of the week when I was there and I left. The next Sabbath I got a call. I was in the church in San Benito that was having vacation Bible school. So they told me, "Would you like I was at the vacation Bible school when my phone rang, and that was my niece from Monterrey. She was in tears. I said, "What's happening?" She said, "My father passed away." She said, thank you so much because you prepared him for his death." "I know he will be in heaven," she said.
Amen.
Only a prayer. So I think God remind me so many incidents that I had with the people.
The next generation was far more open there.
Yes, they treat me very nice. They're not like the other generation.
Now, the earlier generation, I understand that another thing happened there in the city that really caused a ruckus. You said that something about a pastor came and preached the message, and a woman who was very staunch Catholic turned. Well, tell a little bit about that.
Yes, that's my husband's cousin. Pastor Rascon, who is
Related to Harley Charles'
the Harley
in-laws.
Charles, yes.
Okay.
His mother-in-law, that's the daughter of Pastor Rascon. Pastor Rascon, he came when the church was, they built the church from the shack and all that stuff, they built the church. And he was a pastor at the church. And so he went and visit my husband's cousin. He had a business, shoe store, he has sells too. And so he gave him the message. He converted. And then he gave the message to his sister. His sister would live just across the street where we had our business. And she was always dressed in the dress of a virgin. And she was always very Catholic. But when she got the message, she and I began to be very close. We would go giving Bible studies, visiting people, praying with the people. And there wasn't a food bank, but we had a food bank in those years. We asked the people from the church, bring food, and we're going to go give it to the people. Then we went to the business, and the business gave us some groceries, and we would give to the poor people. That was when the church was organized. But the thing is, when Serafin, that is the cousin of my husband, began in the ministry, he began a great lay in giving the message. As a lot of people went by him. But that was brother Pastor Rascon who gave him the message, and then his sister. And my mother-in-law was so angry. She said, what is Aurora doing? She got off the dress and she's going to another church. And she was the first one in our hometown and sent the people to the church, and now she's going to another church. This is impossible. They was very angry. But thank God with these two persons that the church began to grow in, and once we were coming out of church, it was a Wednesday night, and we saw a lady thrown on the edge of a liquor cantina, was thrown outside, and people would pass by and see her. They said, I guess she's drunk. But we didn't think she was drunk. We got close to her, Aurora and I, the one that's converted. She said, look, this lady, let's go. So we said, what's wrong with you? She said, I'm sorry, but I have an awful pain. I can't even get up. I fell down. And so she said, let's call Serafin. He was the only one had a car because he had his business. And so we stopped and, hey, come, help us pick up this lady. Let's take her home. So we took this lady home. She said, my kids I come from work. I went to wash to a lady, and she gave me some money, and I don't have food to give my kids. So the church, since we were giving food, we turned to this lady. This lady got baptized. She was thrown in the street. People passed by and they said, since she was near to the cantina, they thought she was drunk. But no, the Lord got us to her. We went and we turned to these people, and thank God the people in the church. Yeah, so many stories.
And Lillian, you mentioned when you were that young 18-year-old bride, and that because it was such a little tiny church, you just sensed the need to start becoming active, and they put you in charge of teaching the primary, the young kids.
Yes.
And those were really your first Bible studies and your first baptismal class, because all of them got baptized. Is that right?
True. That's true. That was my first class.
That is amazing. Sometimes those little churches and watching God transform key people's lives, and people have a heart for reaching out to those in need.
Yes.
Thank you. This is a thrilling story. Thank you so much.
Okay.